It's so great to see you because like that radiance that you reflect on all your shows and all your movies, like it translates and this is
Oh, thank
amazing.
you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm grateful. I'm
That's
grateful.
great.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for your time. Let me just introduce you really quickly to my audience. Kelly, of course, Emmy-nominated actress. You've seen her in Grandfather, Pitch, Fuller House, Here and Now on HBO, and of course, The Handmaid's Tale, where a lot of people may know you. You have so many credits, and all of them are amazing. And of course, your new show, Manhunt. Right now, it's on CBS at 10 p.m.
Hmm.
Let's just get that out of the way. And you have two Netflix original movies streaming right now as well, Kelly. You have All Day and a Night and Uncorked with Courtney V. Vance.
Yes.
So busy woman, busy woman.
Yes. Oh, thank God.
Yes, yes. So thank you for your time. We're mostly a music themed show. We have a lot of artists and musicians and producers, but we've had actresses before. Like we had Ashley Judd, and now we have you. And like it's like the epitome because you are like a rock star. So it makes
Oh,
perfect sense. It makes
thank you
perfect
for
sense.
saying
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely, Kelly, you are. So let's start with the obvious. How has this year been for you?
Oh man, this year has been challenging. It has been fruitful, enlightening,
Hmm.
difficult, but also just really filled with a lot of peace, understanding that it is what it is, and I can't change what is happening around me with COVID happening or not really being able to go and see my family. And so for me, my focus has just been on maintaining my peace so that
That's
I
nice.
don't drive myself crazy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Your family's in Georgia, right?
Yes, all my
Yeah.
family is still in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, most of my family
Hmm.
is still there. Hmm.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I feel like that's the way to do it. The way you're handling it. Realizing
Hmm.
that it's how we react to these challenges. So, for sure, Kelly. So let's talk a little bit about your early life, if you will, and then move to the present a little bit because you have such a
Okay.
your story in itself is like a Hollywood story. Like you don't even need to act. You don't even need to act. I mean, you were basically born an actress. I mean, there's a rumor on the street that your mom said you were acting in the womb.
Yeah,
So
that's what she said. It came
that's
out ready to perform.
ready to perform. I love it. So let me ask you about that big first play, right? You're in fifth grade, little Kelly in Atlanta,
Hmm.
Georgia, and you go to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Yeah.
Yes, uh-huh.
Well, tell us a little bit about this memory. 5 years old, fifth grade. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for my teacher. Mr. Hornsby was his name, my fifth grade teacher. And he asked us about putting on a play. And I don't remember all of the details, but somehow we ended up on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I had the opportunity to play the lead. And I remember him asking if, we wanted to change the name to Charlene. And I was like, no, I can play a boy. Like, let's keep it as is. And we just transformed our classroom into the chocolate factory. And it was really amazing. My parents were there, my siblings were there, my mom like recorded it. And so it was an eye-opening experience, but it was like, this is something that I love.
Mm,
Hmm.
wow, that's great. That's great to feel that at such a young age, Kelly.
Yeah.
So, but then this brings me to my next question. Really interesting. Like moving forward a little bit, you go to Xavier University in New Orleans,
Hmm.
and you were starting to become a forensic psychologist, which is
Yeah.
nuts. Because like what a loss that would have been for all of us, right? And from what I understand, you're doing great too. You're doing having great grades. Acing all your tests. But
Hmm.
Kelly, what was the moment where you're like, no, 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 like this is just not the path.
I think when I saw all of those science classes I was going to have to take, and it was like, oh, so no, this isn't just a one semester thing. This is what you're going to be doing for the next 3, 4. If you decide to go on to get, graduate school, this is something that you're going to be doing for a very long time. And, I had kind of pushed that younger Kelly aside, who was like, yes, we're going to be an actor, and
Mm,
allowed myself to believe like acting isn't a real job. That's not something that you make a profession out of. Like, you got to have a real job that's going to give you
right.
insurance, that's going to pay your bills, all of those things. And I think I just got to a point where I was like, but I'm paying all this money to go to school to do something that I really enjoy, but it's not something that I love. What do you love to do? And it was like, performing, acting, that's what you love. All right, let's pursue it and see what happens.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
I feel like with this pandemic, a lot of people are having these realizations that they did
Mm-hmm.
not do what you did, or they want to, or they're doing it. All these radical shifts. So it's credit to you that you did it at such a young age, such clarity.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And yeah, of course. And then, but okay, so you have this breakthrough. You go back to Georgia State. You majored in theater, and we're so glad you did again. And you joined the Black Student Theater Ensemble,
Mm-hmm.
and you did Shaking That Mess.
Yeah, shaking the mess out of misery.
Shaking the mess out of misery. How did that feel, right? Because you're coming off that classroom, you're coming off the science, and like you just get on that stage, you know, getting into the emotions of another character, another world. Do you remember that feeling, Kelly?
I do. It was like, oh yeah, this is why you left Xavier University. Like, this is what drives you. This is what gets the blood pumping through your veins. You know, this is the theater aspect of being in front of that audience, of like, hey, if you mess up, if you drop your line, you got to figure out how to keep going. And so it was just like, oh my God, and being surrounded by other people who were just as passionate about it. Our director at the time, Sherelle Luckett, who's now gone on to become Dr. Sherelle Luckett in theater. And, you know, it was just such another eye-opening experience of like, oh, there are other like-minded individuals out here who are pursuing their dreams.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And then you go to the Youth Ensemble of Atlanta, and under the tutelage of Freddie Hendrix, the legendary. So I did want to ask you, Kelly, tell us a little bit. That's such a renowned, you know, performing arts institution. Mm-hmm. Tell us, like, folks that have not been in those shoes, like, what is that like? I've always wondered, is there a lot of pressure involved, competition, the day-to-day in something like that? You know,
so the Youth Ensemble was founded by Freddie Hendrix back in 1996, I want to say. I joined, you know, several years after its founding. And so working with Freddie Hendrix, he was such an intense and compassionate director who forced you into moving beyond yourself and into the ordinary, and like propelled us into the extraordinary. And I thank God for being able to be under him, because it really it set the foundation for the rest of my acting career, to always be on point, to always be professional. And there wasn't necessarily a sense of competition in a negative sense. There was a sense of competition in how prepared are you? How ready are you? Because at any given moment, because it was an ensemble, we had to know every single part, every single piece of blocking, because at any moment, and it actually happened to me, you can be going on stage and Freddie or the stage director would say, okay, now you're going to actually play this part tonight. And you needed to have it, and you needed to be perfect. And so just having that foundation of like, no, I always need to be on top of my game, was such a beautiful foundation to be put upon. And to carry that into work today, you know, it definitely helps me to stand out.
Wow, he was tough then.
Yeah.
He's tough, but the good tough. I know who you're saying. We've all had a few of those.
yeah. He's like a father. We still keep in contact today, and I adore that man. I absolutely adore him.
That's amazing, Kelly.
Yeah.
So then you go on, you do Rejoice with Kenny Leon around mid 2000s, 2005, 6 or something like that. Mm-hmm. When did you, like, was it around this time, like, when did you realize, like, okay, like, I'm doing great, probably everyone's telling you how great you are, mm-hmm. and you started thinking like, man, you know what, I think I can take that next step?
Yeah, so it's funny, it was Rejoice. I remember we were doing a prayer circle, and one of the leads of the play was like, you know, I just feel like somebody in the circle is contemplating making a really big move, and I just want to encourage you to make that move. And I'm in the circle like, what? But we didn't talk about this. Nobody knows that I'm contemplating moving to LA. And there was just a sense of peace, like what you have been thinking about doing, do it. Just step out on faith and do what it is that you need to do, while also making sure that you're prepared to do it. And so that was the moment that it was like, I think I'm going to go to LA.
Yeah. It's amazing how the universe speaks to us, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're in tune, you're in tune. And okay, so you pack up your car. Are you married at this point, Kelly?
I'm not married at that point.
You're not married.
No.
Okay. So
but I was dating. My boyfriend and I moved out to LA together.
Yeah.
But we're not together. And he and I did end up getting married. But then we got divorced. I was able to move out here with somebody, which made it so much easier, to be able to move out to LA by yourself, because it was already a big move. So to be able to move out here with someone else, it really kind of, I guess, helped me to stay here. Yeah,
definitely. So you did the drive from Atlanta to LA.
Did the drive from Atlanta.
What do you remember from that drive? I'm just curious, because it's like it seems like wind in there blowing up your hair. It's like big life change happening. What do you remember from that drive?
It's funny because I had a Chevy Malibu and I could not get clearance to haul the trailer. Like they were like, no, your car will not you can't haul your trailer on this car. And so my parents had a Chevy Tahoe, and they were like, all right, well, just take the Chevy Tahoe and then bring it back, and then you can take your car. And so my then boyfriend, we drove my parents' Chevy Tahoe out. I remember us kind of stopping along the way. We were like, oh, we should stop at Vegas. And so we put that in the GPS, and we end up going to Old Town, Las Vegas. And so we're looking around and we're like, this doesn't look like Vegas at all. And we realized like, oh, this is not Vegas.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because being from Atlanta, like the first few times I went with my family, we put the Coca-Cola on the old school GPS.
Okay.
Thinking it was going to take us to the museum.
Right.
And it took us to like the bottle distillery in the wrong part of town, basically.
Right.
I'm just like, I don't think this is where you drink all the all the sodas from the world. But anyway, I digress. Oh man, that's great, Kelly. And so was it hard, like those first few months in LA? Because obviously you were the creme of the state of Georgia, but now you're like competing with
everybody.
How was that transition?
It was difficult. And I did mostly theater in Atlanta, and, got to perform at the Alliance Theater in there. So, you get this sense of like, oh, I am a big fish in a little pond. And then you come out to LA and you're like, no, you are a mackerel. You are a tiny little fish in a huge pond, because everybody is an actor out here. Your dentist is also pursuing being an actor. The pastor that just gave the sermon on Sunday, he's also trying, everybody is an actor. And so it was this awakening of like, yeah, you came out here like, hey guys, I'm talented. Who wants to hire me? And it's crickets. But before I moved out, I did send my headshot and resume out to different theater companies, and I ended up booking a play that I got to do. And so I was really grateful for that opportunity, and then just being in class and just really working on tuning my skills. But it was a wake-up call. Like, you're not going to just be able to come out here and you get discovered and now you're in films and TV shows. Yeah. It took me 7 years before I booked my first co-star role.
Yeah, Happy Endings, right?
Happy Endings, yeah.
So you definitely were focused. You didn't let the punches drag you down. That was in the research. The best part of the story. I felt like, man, like what a resilient gal Kelly is. We could all have someone like that in our corner. So you were like 6-7 years, kind of like dodging punches. Tell us about Happy Endings. Like when you were like, finally you can catch a breath. Tell us a little bit about the audition, the call, all that good stuff.
Oh, it was such an amazing experience, because it was Susan Vash. She was casting. It was my third time going into audition for her. And I already had a meeting set up to go talk with my agent. So I did the audition, read with Susan Vash, and I walked out like it was a cool audition, but I'm not right for the role. So I go to my agent's office, because we had this meeting set up, and I had on a top, and she was like, oh, I love that top. And she was like, I emailed her and I was like, so I'm done with this audition, headed to the office. I feel like I did good. I'm just not right for this role. And so when I came in the office, she was talking about my top that I had on. It was a purple top with flowers and everything. And she was like, I love that top. And I was like, yeah, I stole this from a friend of mine back home and she wants it back. She was like, okay, I don't care about that. You booked your first TV role. And I was like, what? And she was like, the role that you said you didn't think you were right for, you booked it. And I remember calling my mom. Oh my God, I feel like I'm getting emotional now. I remember calling my mom and I was just crying. And I was like, I booked my first TV role. You know, my first.
From the hallway or from your car? You're playing.
No, I called from the office. I called from my agent's phone. Yeah. And, you know, it was just like, I booked my first TV role. And so it was so overwhelming. And it was just a reminder of like, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Just put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And just keep going, you know?
Definitely. And there's a lesson there, boys and girls. Use a purple blouse with flowers for this big moment. Can't hurt.
Steal the blouse from your friend.
Steal the blouse. Did you give it back or did you keep it for your Hall of Fame?
I still have it.
Of course you did. Absolutely. That's going to the, Screen Actors Guild Hall of Fame one day. Let's talk about Manhunt for a second. Great new TV show. You know, it's on CBS and it's near and dear to your heart because it's Atlanta.
Yes.
And it's funny, you know, that we're talking now because in this show sometimes we're talking during the pandemic to these small venues trying to get recognition because they're shut down. And we went to the Tabernacle like in 2 months ago in downtown Atlanta, and they were talking about the bomb incident. Yeah. In the Atlanta Olympics, and it was right there and then. So I just thought that was cool. But tell us what you've learned about your hometown from this show. Have you learned anything new?
Yeah, you know, because I was much younger when this happened, there were a lot of things that I was just not privy to. I didn't understand the depth of the betrayal that Richard Jewell had to face and how the media like utterly destroyed this man. And I didn't even realize that the real bomber had gone on to do 3 additional bombings, and that, you know, they did not capture him, I want to say until like 2006 or 7. I can't remember exactly. Like, I didn't know the span of how long this manhunt was. And I didn't even, realize that they never really said, hey, I'm sorry, Richard Jewell, for what we did. You were a hero. You saved hundreds of lives, but we destroyed your life. And, Richard Jewell ended up passing, I think in 2006, and it was so heartbreaking that, he's not able to see the Clint Eastwood film or, my series, Manhunt Deadly Games, that say, we see you. We see what happened and it wasn't right. Please allow this to offer some type of vindication and peace, for your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you put it, Kelly. And before we finish off with some music questions, let's just, since we're like on that, like kind of like sphere, what's your take on all the social issues that like have kind of like been so impactful this year in our country? Do you think that there's some legs here, or do you think that they will kind of be forgotten as an election year thing?
I think it has the potential to go either way. Everything that we have dealt with this year has been so extremely heavy. But as a believer, as a Christian, my focus is always shine light. Be light, because there is so much darkness, and it doesn't mean that I'm not affected by the brutality that is happening to my people or other people of color across the world. It just means that I have to have a different perspective. My response has to be different. I can't cuss and scream and cry and yell and just spew back the same hatred that is being spewed at us. I acknowledge it, I hear it, I understand it, and then I say, but I still have to be light. And what change, how can I affect change? What is it that I'm going to do that will be able to affect change. And so that's really kind of been my take on all of this social injustices that we've had to deal with, and just trying to find the light in every situation that we are presented with. And sometimes it is extremely challenging to find that light. And then I have to remind myself, you're the light. Like, you are the light, Kelly. So just do what you're supposed to do and shine. My light bulb, my ring light is never like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, it's a light. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. When I turn it on, it shines. And so it's like, Kelly, you're a light. Just be a light.
Amazing. Kelly, I gotta tell you, like, forget acting superstar, forget charming the screen and the screens and all that. I'm inspired, man. It's like Oprah, Tony Robbins. Like, where are we going, man? Like, woo, I love it. We're pumped.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Kelly. And really quickly, by the way, you got nominated with your current husband to the Emmys at the same time. Like, that's.
I did.
You realize that that just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, we were the first African-American married couple to be nominated in the same year. And so that was huge. Like, being nominated as an actor is huge. Being nominated with your husband and making history in that nomination, there are just no words to really articulate what that moment meant to the both of us and what it still means to the both of us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like award season, how many good dates, like the whole thing.
Yeah. And what I loved most about it, like, my husband is a social butterfly. He has never met a stranger a day in his life. And I'm more of a recluse sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to go on the red carpet. I don't want to do this interview. I don't want to. And so just to have that balance of, like, hey, I look to my side and my best friend, my spouse, is there. And there's just a sense of comfort that comes over me. And because we were both nominated, our +1s opened up. So he got to invite someone else. I got to invite my mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was such a beautiful experience.
Crazy. So you get to do the mom and the significant other. You just killed it. Oh, that's great. That's great. Kelly, let me leave you with some music questions. Bring it up to theme. What's the first concert that you ever went to?
First concert I went to was the Jackson 5.
Oh my God.
And my sister and I freaked out because they came out in these like silver robot, like, we were young girls. We were little, and it terrified us. And we were screaming, and my mom's boyfriend at the time, like, had to take us out. We couldn't stay in there because we were so panicked. We were like, I don't know what, we freaked out.
Oh, wow. But hey, listen, but you saw the Jackson 5. It counts. Yeah. It counts. What music is your go-to when you get the call from your agent saying you got the role, you got the Netflix movie? What's like your, like, heck yeah song?
That's a good one. I'm like, what is it? It's a couple of different things. It just depends on where I am. Like, Stephanie Gretzinger is always my go-to. So I've really been like pumping her album a lot. And so it's just kind of like my happy place. And when I listen to any of her albums, it's just like, yeah, see, you got it. Keep going, keep going. And then when I really want to turn up, I'll pump up some Jasmine Sullivan or India Arie. Like, those are some of my absolute go-tos.
Nice, Kelly. Okay. And your favorite, obviously Atlanta has such a great musical tradition. What's your favorite Atlanta musician?
Ooh, it's a tie between Goody Mob and Outkast.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Usher.
Sorry, Usher. I love you. But it's like, Usher is kind of from Atlanta. He's really like from Tennessee. Oh. But, he does rep Atlanta, but Goody Mob and Outkast are like homegrown ATLians that I'm like, yeah, those are my people.
Oh my God. Kelly, you've said it all. What a
Thank
great,
you.
you're even more amazing than we could have expected. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
thank
Kelly.
you for saying that. Thank you so
Abs-
much for having me. This has been an amazing interview. Thank
No,
you.
absolutely. You know, my audience, you know, like they will totally recognize you because you've been on so many great movies, great shows, and you always bring smile to people's faces, honestly. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for that. All right,
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thank you. All
Have a great
right.
time. Stay
Thank
safe.
you. All right. You too.